Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Side. Today on the program, the sugar high is over for Kamala, and what a crash it's going to be. We're seeing people across the country voice their opinions. Look, we've seen for 5 or 6 days now the radical left hierarchy, purposeful and demanded enthusiasm, right? And what's more is the enthusiasm is fake. We can tell a mile away. You've got legacy media. You've got people on social media platforms like X and Facebook and YouTube posting all sorts of fake enthusiasm. Kamala has no record to stand on. We're going to talk about this. We're going to show you evidence of people, mainstream American people in the Rust Belt, by the way, a swath of the country where if Trump wins just one of those states, he takes the White House back. Plus, is Kamala even eligible to be president? I have Trump attorney Will Scharf on the program as well today. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this and much more, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you as always from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And today, the sugar high is over for Kamala Harris. We're going to get to work today, the rest of the world waking up, America especially, to the nonsense and the idiocy that this woman represents. Her record of nothingness is vast and expansive. She has nothing to stand upon. The burden for her to disassociate, if she even tries to, if she even wants to, from the last 4 years, remember, she has got the burden of the Biden-Harris purposeful chaos upon her shoulders, the chaos that has been purposefully thrust upon us in this republic. I've been telling you for over the past few days now, all of this enthusiasm surrounding Kamala Harris it falls into one of two categories. First of all, it's fake, and you can sniff that out from a mile away. Second category, it's demanded. It's fake because on the radical liberal left, with any shred of intellectual maturity, people can figure out that Kamala has no chance to win. She has no record of any substance. The people that support her are blind partisans or wildly and vastly intellectually immature. But they have to give the impression, the radical left hierarchy and its members and the minions in the media and on social media platforms, they have to give us the impression that they are all in, that she's the chosen one, that they've always really wanted her anyway. Who really cared about Joe? You know, never mind that 3 weeks ago, everybody was clamoring about, stay with Joe, I'm with Joe. And all of a sudden, poof, we've got Sulu and Rob Reiner Meathead, and we've got the Krasenstein brothers on X, and we have Harry Sisson, the paid George Soros talking head on it. All of the legacy media talking about Kamala, the chosen one. We've always really wanted her anyway. Right, of course you did. And then you've got this absolute blitzkrieg of fake enthusiasm coming at you from every angle imaginable. I was on the phone again today with one of my best friends, Zeke Montana, Kansas City radio guy, and he's calling and asking the same questions. What is up with all this? And all I hear is rah, rah, Kamala, right? Well, it's fake. And the sheer volume of panic that this blitzkrieg really represents should be our first indicator that they are in panic mode. It's DEFCON 1 over there. Trust me, they are not only panicked, but they're terrorized about their chances in November, which are at about 0. The second item, in addition to the fake enthusiasm, is that this fake enthusiasm is being demanded by the members of the radical left hierarchy. You can better believe that throughout the Republic today and this week, there have been frequent conference calls, Skype calls, Zoom calls, you name it, among members of this commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party hierarchy. And they're trying to figure it out. And so what they do on these calls, and I'm not joking, these calls happen. And so the agenda is they get the media members on these calls. They get members of the elected class from their side, and some on ours, by the way, the rhinos. And they get social media influencers, celebrity class folks, and the cable news outlet members and all. They get them on these calls, and then they make their demands. All right, here's your talking points. To some degree or another, you're going to talk about A, B, C, and D. And this week, A, B, C, and D has been fake enthusiasm. Show it. I know that we're scared. I know that she's not the best, but we're painted in, as I said yesterday, we've painted ourselves into this DEI corner. We can't just get rid of the black lady. All right, she's not black. First of all, who's going to tell the people that are claiming, hey, black women and all of this, we're united? She's not black. So that's point A. But underneath all of that, in all seriousness, there is this sheer and palpable sense of panic. You can sense it. Anyone with any shred of intellectual maturity can sense it. You, my good friends, because you watch me and you listen to this program, you're lucky because you're members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. But you can sense it. The panic is out there. It's real. You can almost touch it. It's so real. And because of you good people throughout this republic, and even those of you who are new to this program, and I know because I see your emails and your messages on social media, I know because you're new, you might have voted for Administrator Biden, and we've forgiven you that. But you're coming over here precisely because you've found me and this show as a source of truth, who gives you hope through the purposeful chaos that has been thrust upon you from the commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. And so you've now switched your ranks. You switched your allegiance from that party, the coalition of immorality, to the right side, to the conservative movement in America. And it is an incredible thing to behold, this sugar high crash that is happening at this very moment. Kamala Harris, even the Democrats in America who were on board with Biden, although albeit they were hesitant, are looking now and say, what? You're gonna insert Kamala without putting it up for a vote? We don't even get a say in it because, in 2016, you guys remember, we didn't like her. She didn't win one delegate vote. She hasn't won one major outside of her run in California. And that's no record to stand on either, where she purposefully avoided prosecuting with extreme prejudice violent criminals and put hundreds of thousands of black men in jail for smoking pot, where she would let the rapists and the murderers and so forth go free, if she even sentenced them at all. This is all coming out. And so America is thankfully populated with people who are not stupid, but the radical left thinks that you are. Even those who voted for Biden, looking around going, Kamala Harris, really? She's an idiot. And it's not just my opinion. Look, you might think, well, Billings, you're a partisan as well. You're a Republican, you're a conservative, you're a Make America Great Again guy. It's not just me. We have people from that party. We have people in the Rust Belt states. I mean, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Georgia even. In fact, they're doing so bad in Georgia, they're not even spending money in Georgia, the DNC. But we've got their own people now talking out about these very, very same issues. Take a look. I want to show you a focus group that was conducted in Wisconsin. Now, keep in mind, Wisconsin is a key battleground state. And here's a group of ladies who are talking about this very topic. It was on MSNBC. Take a look. Clip number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was supposed to be doing and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy. Well, it isn't. Not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring, would make you consider voting for her?
No.
Never consider voting for her.
No. I would do RFK Jr. way before her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And she's not the first woman to run for the presidency, Hillary Clinton. I'm assuming no one voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's not necessarily going to sway you to vote for a woman in office. When do you think America will have a female president?
When there's a competent one.
I don't get a good feel for her.
I think she's an idiot.
Right.
Mary, why do you think that she's not that bright?
Because she hasn't done anything in the time that she's had. We don't know anything about her as far as her 3 years so far in the White House. She's not real.
So, look, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe they even showed you that. MSNBC put that on the air. These are Democrat women. Now, this represents an entire swath, a majority, mind you, of the way Americans feel about Kamala Harris. We are not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the ladies even mentioned RFK. Beware, he's going to endorse President Trump. Just wait for that. Kamala Harris was given every opportunity to show that she could show up and be a vice president. Instead, she's vice pretender. Vice pretender. She's turned the vice presidency into an absentee job. She has not shown up. And yes, she was given the job to be in charge of the border. Now, I grant you that no one in the administration called her the border czar. That was a nickname that was, I think, created on Fox News. But that doesn't matter. She was still literally given the job by Administrator Biden to be in charge of the border and the border crisis. She wasn't given that job just to check on the border and to make sure everybody was, doing well. She was assigned because, right out of their playbook, when there's a crisis that they create, they often then go and try to pretend as if they're solving the crisis, right? She was given the task because there was such an uproar about the border. Biden made a big deal about it. This was back in the days when they were still wearing their masks that, by the way, have no bearing on your health. I'm going to get to all of this and I'm going to show you all of this. But those women in Wisconsin, I love that clip. I mean, they're so brutally honest. She's an idiot, they say about Kamala. That the radical left is not fooling anybody. And they have been on an absolute sugar high. They've had their 15 minutes, quote unquote, of glory and gloating and egomania about all of this. But that demographic that we saw from those women also represent people, voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, West Virginia, Ohio, and as I mentioned, Georgia. And if Trump gets just one of those states, he's back in the White House. And Trump is clearly leading by significant margins in every one of those states. In fact, I alluded to it earlier, he's leading so much in Georgia that the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri, they have decided to pull completely out of Georgia with regards to spending much money on campaigning. So that's how much clearer the writing is on the wall in Georgia. You can see with the major demographic groups of voters all across the Republic coming to the right side. Much more, my friends, to talk about regarding this. The sugar high is over. Hey, if you like me, and if you like this show, if you like the analysis and the truth that I bring you without the clickbait nonsense that you so often see, head over to DougBillings.us, please. Head on over there. After you watch this show, of course, head over to DougBillings.us and click on that donate button. Please prayerfully consider setting up a monthly recurring donation. It's how I continue to bring you this program. I don't charge you for the show. Obviously, you're watching it or listening to it now for free, but just decide prayerfully what the truth is worth to you and head over to DougBillings.us, please, and set up that monthly recurring donation. And if you're watching this on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, follow me, subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff so you can always be kept in the loop with regards to the truth. I'll be right back after this short break. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Hey, consider going to mypillow.com right now and get your pet a pet bed, just like my beloved Delta has right here in my office. Not only can you get pet beds, but you can get sheets, towels, blankets, and so much more. Slippers, sandals, robes, beach towels. It just goes on and on. But please, go to mypillow.com and be sure to use the promo code B66. When you do, not only will you receive savings, but a generous percentage of each purchase comes back to continue supporting this 24/7 free broadcast outlet. We need your support. Hey, look, we're entrepreneurs, just like my friend Mike Lindell. We all need your support, and you're getting quality products at the same time. So please, go to mypillow.com and use the promo code B66. Mike always has amazing specials going right there at MyPillow. So check out whatever those specials might be today. You never know. Mike's always changing it up and making new offers right there at mypillow.com. But be sure to use the promo code B66.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Right Side, driving the left crazy with the truth. They can't handle the truth. They don't deal in the truth. In fact, you notice they don't put the truth forward. They will suppress it, and they're trying to do that right now with Kamala. So you can see with that clip that I just showed before the break. Look, ladies and gentlemen, every major demographic of voter coming into this election season leaning towards President Trump in record numbers. And we see Republican people, conservative men and women, openly voicing real concerns about the intellectual capacity or lack thereof of Kamala Harris. We see members of the middle class, the working class, all Asian, Hispanic, white, black, male, female, all of them voicing, even people who voted for Administrator Biden and Kamala Harris in 2020. This is not what I've signed up for, is what they're saying. Kamala Harris cannot shake the reputation of the last 4 years off in just a few days here. She can't shake it off at all. And people are looking around at this country and the state that it's in, and they're saying to themselves, no, not again. And we saw the women in Wisconsin in that focus group say, look, it doesn't even matter who she chooses for a vice president. Well, what's it going to take? Asked the talking head over there at MSNBC. What's it going to take for you to be able to vote for a woman? And they said the logical, intellectually mature thing. It's going to take a woman who's capable and qualified. And clearly the majority of Americans do not think that Kamala is. So do not be dissuaded or discouraged from the avalanche and the blitzkrieg of this fake and demanded enthusiasm that you're seeing from the media. And from the left, it's been demanded. You can bet that Barack Obama, the Clintons, and all of them were involved in the calls that I mentioned earlier to get everybody on board with regards to the talking points and the enthusiasm that is being demanded of them. DEI has painted them into a corner from which they cannot escape. Now, if that wasn't enough, what you saw on MSNBC in that focus group, CNN also had their own liberal analysts looking at the numbers and the polling numbers. And although the polls that they use are liberal polls, and so the numbers are a little bit closer, even they are forced to admit Kamala can't win. Looking at these numbers that are out there now, she can't. There's no pathway for her to win the popular vote or the electoral college vote. And I'll have some things to say about that, but that's a danger because you know what they feel about the electoral college. They want to get rid of it. Take a look. I want to show you. This is CNN, and basically going through some numbers and it's saying that Kamala has no pathway. Clip number 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular. But take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So, yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
It will be interesting to see how voters respond to all of this. Now, how is he doing relative to Harris, who did run at one point? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look here, right? We've been focusing so much on how Harris was doing better than Biden in the polling, and that's true. If we take a look at the national average, what do we see? We see Donald Trump up by 1. That's a within-the-margin race, right? That's a close race. But remember, of course, in the national popular vote, Democrats tend to do better there than they've done in the Electoral College, at least when Donald Trump has been running for president. So last time around, when Joe Biden barely won in the Electoral College, he actually won the national popular vote by 4 points. So at this point, Donald Trump is running 5 points better. 5, that's a 5 of some sort. 5 points better than he was 4 years ago against Joe Biden. So at this particular point, whether you look at the favorable ratings, whether you look at the horse race polling, we see that Donald Trump is doing significantly better than he was doing 4 years ago at this point. Kamala Harris is going to have to do better than this, of course, if she wants to win the popular vote, but more than that if she wants to win the Electoral College, where she'll likely have to outperform how she's done nationally, because the fact is, if you got to tie it in the national popular vote, that is probably not good enough if you're Kamala Harris and you want to win the election against Donald Trump.
Now, there, again, up by a significant amount from when he ran in 2020. Black men especially coming to Trump in record numbers. But I'm telling you, every demographic, when you get into the polling companies who are good and who are reputable, sometimes they do go our way, sometimes they don't. But these numbers are nothing to laugh at. And these are the cold, hard facts. This is putting a damper on all of the enthusiasm. This is like doing the ice bucket challenge back in the early 2000s. Remember that? So, yeah, the bucket of cold water thrown all over it. This is not what the liberals are telling you. Kamala, first of all, she's not the official nominee yet. And the whole, the hubbub out there about, oh, President Trump backing out of the debates. And well, let's wait and see who we have. Let's wait and see who we have as an official nominee of the party. He will debate whoever that person is. You've got a huge group of people within that commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, who are not happy at all with the fact that the hierarchy of that party inserted Kamala without giving the people of that party a voice in who to put in there. So that's all going to be contended later in August at their convention in Chicago, but this is not a foregone conclusion for Kamala. And in fact, it's such a problem, that's the only reason Barack Obama came out today and endorsed her, because he can see the writing on the wall as well. This is not sewn up and delivered to Kamala Harris. They have a party to contend with. And I know that they cheat, and I know that they don't. The elites in that party have no care at all for we the people. Not just for us, but for the we the people within their own party, mind you. So I know that that doesn't bother them, but still, some things begin to snowball so big and so fast that not even the elites within that party can control it. And I think that's what you're going to see at the convention. So let's just see if Kamala does end up, in fact, being the official nominee from that coalition of immorality to be president. And at such time, if that becomes the truth, then Trump will debate her. If anybody thinks Trump's going to back down from a debate, that person is absolutely unaware of the character and the fiber of Trump. So now, when the radical left is faced with what we just saw, those kinds of numbers that we just saw displayed on CNN, it will do two things. It will obviously send the hierarchy of that party into a tailspin of panic. It will also start them to discuss how to begin to dismantle the Electoral College when they're in power. Remember, they want just the popular vote. They are all about us being a democracy, which is the rule of the masses. The republic is a rule that is a voice of we the people, and the Electoral College balances and makes the playing field level for everybody. Now, we don't. This is not a show about explaining to you the Electoral College. You can certainly go research that, but I know that because you watch this program, you already know you're the most intellectually mature audience in all the podcast land, and you can figure that out if you don't already know it to be true. But again, most Americans realize that the value of Electoral College is real. The founders wanted it there. It's a brilliant system, and any discussion from the radical left about abolishing it will only add to the numbers of people who are leaving that party. So they can talk to their minority base all they want. The radicalized base of the radical left, the ones that want to, get rid of the Supreme Court or expand the Supreme Court or eliminate the electoral. That's the radical base of the left. It represents 0.5% of their party, but yet that's who they speak to most of the time. They're not about, and I spoke about this yesterday on my show, they're not about just winning the president. In fact, winning the presidency is number 2 on their list of goals. Their number 1 list has been for many decades now, not just to win an office, but their number 1 goal is to sway the needle to the left. Cause America go further to the left by virtue of the candidates they put forth, by virtue of the talking points that they put forth, by virtue of their policies, their platform, and their politics. Make the country go further left. It's not so important to them if they win any particular office, just as long as during the campaign for that office, the discussion drives us further to the left. Think about that. That's their number 1 goal. So another reason that Americans are rejecting Kamala Harris is that she carries the baggage of all of this purposeful chaos that has been thrust upon us by the Biden-Harris administration. She can't wash her hands of the last 4 years. Those hands are dirty, and she cannot cleanse herself from that. The chaos that they've thrust upon us is purposeful. We all know this. I've reported many times over the last 4 years that because of this chaos, it's driving multiple millions of people to our side, driving multiple people away from the Biden-Harris ticket. And that's what you saw in that focus group from the women in Wisconsin earlier in the show tonight. They're looking around, or they're going, this is not what I signed up for. And most importantly on the list of the purposeful chaos is the southern border. We all know that. It's the number 1 issue this election season, illegal immigration. And the situation. Kamala was put in charge of this. There is no sugarcoating that. There's no denying that. She was put in charge of the southern border by Administrator Biden himself. Forget about the word czar. Borders. Yes, she was not given that title. That was a title, I think, made up and dubbed by Fox News. She was not knighted the czar of the border or the border czar. I grant you that. But she was verbally and visually given the responsibility to manage the border by Administrator Biden. We have it on tape. We've seen it time and time again. I'm going to show it to you just in a moment when we come back. But this was not an assignment to simply monitor the border and talk about it during press conferences and go, visit great restaurants in Texas or Arizona while you're, mentioning the border. Administrator Biden was serious, and he was specific when he gave her this assignment. I'm going to show you when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, again, please, I remind you, DougBillings.us. It's how I make a living. It's how I bring you this show. It's how I give you the state of analysis and the state of play in America and the truth. DougBillings.us, if you would, please, when you're finished watching or listening to the program, head over there, DougBillings.us. Click on the Donate tab and prayerfully, please, consider setting up a monthly recurring donation so that we can continue to bring you the truth. And whatever platform you're watching or listening on, please click on the follow button and the subscribe button. Follow me, subscribe, so that you can always be in touch. God bless you. I will be right back.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process. Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face. Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older, and it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. liveyoungerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great, and so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for standing with me shoulder to shoulder on the program. Phone line in case you want to join me and have a question about what we're talking about tonight, 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. Going to open up. Also, coming up in just a few moments, one of President Trump's key attorneys, Will Scharf, will join me because I want to talk a little bit more in depth about Kamala and her constitutional eligibility for the role of president. So Trump attorney Will Scharf will join us in just a few minutes to talk about all that. So when we talk about the things that Kamala Harris was assigned in her role as vice pretender, and she's turned the vice presidency, ladies and gentlemen, into an absentee job. She had a golden opportunity to show us what she could do, given key assignments, and she's failed. Who among you can name anything of substance that she's... No, you can't. You cannot. So the role of being in charge of the border was given to her by Administrator Biden in real time, on video, and in the White House. They were both in the same room together. Administrator Biden was addressing the chaos that they have seen from the border, that he and his administration had started, by the way, which is, ladies and gentlemen, that is so typically liberal and right out of their playbook. In fact, if you have a copy of the liberal playbook, I don't know if you do or not, but I do. And I refer to it often. I'm going to refer to it right now. I invite you to turn to page 26 of chapter 3 in the liberal playbook, because right there it says, and I quote, "Chaos is your friend. When there's not chaos or there's not crisis, create it. Do everything you can to engage the service of fellow radicals, to march in the streets of cities that are run, led, and managed by members of the party. Another option would be to consider opening up the borders, destroying the borders altogether, even better. Allow untold millions of people to flow into the country and invite them to be part of your electoral base. Help them to destabilize not only the American society, but help them dilute the American identity. Then, and I'm quoting right from the liberal playbook, ladies and gentlemen, right there. Then, after sufficient time of unrest and riots and looting and arson and anarchy, wait for an election year. And then, and only then, rush off and formulate solutions. They're really not solutions. They're really just opportunities to take to blame the other side." End quote. Right there. Chapter 3, page 26 from the liberal playbook, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. It's right out of their playbook. We're seeing it right in front of our eyes. When there's not a crisis, create one. Chaos, arson, riots, looting, deliver pallets of stones, bricks, rocks to street corners in cities that are run, led, and managed by us. I'm certain that they have a playbook somewhere that's just like that. I'm certain of it. So Kamala is now managing this. She was put in charge of the southern border, ladies and gentlemen. There's no denying it. I'm not saying that you have to call it the border czar. The legacy media, the podcasters, liberal influencers on social media, absolutely denying it because it causes panic and because it's the truth. And they don't handle the truth. They don't deal in truth. They're doing everything they can. She was never assigned the border czar role. She was never given that duty. She's not that person. Nah. Forget the word czar and watch, because I'm going to show you the very day that Administrator Biden put her in charge of the border. Clip number 3, ladies and gentlemen.
We're looking at over 220 million Americans who just in the last several months died. We are in the midst of a public health epidemic that has taken the lives of over 220 million Americans in just the last several months.
Well, okay, so that was just an example of Kamala being an idiot. Sorry about, there was a clip that I was going to show you where Biden was in a room in his office at the White House. He assigns Kamala the job. He assigns it to her. Reagan, if you're out there, I sent it. I believe it's in a text or an email to. But we'll try to find it, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. He was putting her in charge of the border. They're doing everything they can. It's DEFCON 1 panic mode over there. They cannot deny it. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. It's another reason why the radical left communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is in a panic. Because the truth is out there, they can't combat it, they can't face it, and the truth almost always is the enemy. It's like garlic to a vampire, right? That's truth to a liberal. They can't take it. They don't deal in it. It's not the way they are wired. And another thing that the liberals are doing is putting forth polling data that is from mom and pop shops across the country. Anything that gives Kamala an edge, we've got to find it. We've got an Acme polling company. Great. Hey, Whiz Kids polling company from Kids Put Together, that somewhere in Detroit. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's put it up. And so this is what they do. There's an organization out there based in Iowa called Interactive Polls. And on X, their handle is @I, letter A, Polls 2020. I encourage you to follow them. Check them out. They post accurate and reputable polling data. They conduct accurate polling data themselves, and they publish that data. But they also publish polling data from companies that are reputable, such as Rasmussen. Now, they posted one of these things just the other day. This is after the RNC convention. This is after Harris had been announced as the presumptive nominee and so forth. So just a graphic, a real simple graphic. It shows, take a look, image number 1, there's Trump at 50%, and they have Harris listed at 43%. So when Robert F. Kennedy is inserted into the mix, it's even better for Trump. 49%. And by the way, Trump at 50% in that first poll, he's up 7 points since Harris has been announced. Harris at 43. And then when you inject RFK Jr., Trump at 49%, still up 7 points in that particular scenario, and Harris at 42%. So it adds up to another reason why these people are in utter panic mode. And don't be surprised, I'm telling you, if in the next few days RFK Jr. drops out and endorses President Trump. You heard it here first. Don't be surprised. RFK has canceled some campaign stops, and so there's speculation about that. I'm keeping my finger on the pulse of that piece of this puzzle, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least. And we'll take it. We'll take that endorsement. I think that, obviously, look, RFK Jr., just on a side note here, he sealed his fate when he chose his vice president candidate, an absolute whack job liberal who just turned everybody who had begun to kind of like RFK Jr., just lost him. So unless you're just radicalized to that side, you're done with RFK. But he is spot on with regards to the vaccine and the mandates and the shutdowns and the wreckage of economies and so forth. So for that, I wouldn't be surprised. Trump may tap him to be part of an advisory portion to his cabinet when he comes in to the White House in January. So maybe not, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see RFK Jr. do that. So now, the next clip, which we actually just saw, I do want to play it one more time for you because this illustrates why the women that we saw at the beginning of the show who were in Wisconsin in that focus group, it was broadcast on MSNBC. This summarizes to a great degree why people don't want Kamala. She's an idiot. She's talking about, in this clip that you're going to see is not from years ago. This is a recent clip where she's talking about the effects that COVID had on us. And she mentions the numbers of dead. 220 million people dead, according to Kamala. Take a look one more time at the clip of Kamala.
We're looking at over 220 million Americans who just in the last several months died. We are in the midst of a public health epidemic that has taken the lives of over 220 million Americans in just the last several months.
Okay, so it's worth watching again. Thank you, Reagan. I think Reagan, by the way, my producer, doing a great job behind the scenes. It's something to behold, ladies and gentlemen, the level of intellectual immaturity. Now, 220 million dead. She's claiming that, right? Our population is what? Approximately 327 or so million. With 220 million, I've never made a claim to be a great mathematician, but what is that? A third, 36%? Of our population wiped out. Of course, she's not anywhere close to the truth. And here she is out there talking as if she's pretending. And so people see this and it sticks with them and they remember it. And people, it's not because she's a woman of color. She's not black, but she's a woman of color. And she's a woman. And she's in this DEI category. You see, we want, most Americans, thankfully so, are intellectually mature enough to know that we need someone who's qualified. We don't want them to have a job because of their color, because of their race, because of their gender, because of their political ideologies even. We want them to be qualified, please. Thank you very much for just finding someone who's qualified to do the job. And it's a corner they've been painted into by their own doing. Biden did it to himself, and he did it to the party. And I'm telling you, that despite, I wish I had a clip of that horrendous, cringe-worthy ad that they put out today. Biden, Barack, and Michelle calling Kamala on the phone. But maybe for another time. Ladies and gentlemen, is Kamala even eligible to be the president of the United States? I'm going to ask President Trump's attorney, Will Scharf, this question. When we come back from the break, Will be with me. Will be with me. Will Scharf, President Trump's attorney, coming back with us after the break. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepcid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com. twc.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. twc.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member, because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from the fruited plains of America.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, real quickly, a lot of questions out there circulating about the candidacy of Kamala Harris. Is she even eligible to be president? And good questions they are, because if we're specific and if we go back to the original intent of the Constitution, there's some question marks there. Earlier today, I sat down with Will Scharf and had an interview with him. I want to show you that right now. We discuss the fact that she is an anchor baby, and we discuss whether or not she's eligible. Here's my interview with President Trump's attorney, Will Scharf, who's also running for the Missouri Attorney General position. Here's the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of chatter, shall we say, on the internet and social media, legacy media, about the Harris campaign and so forth, especially with regards to her candidacy to be president. Is she eligible? Anchor baby topic, all of that coming up. The Constitution has specific rubrics and certain parameters by which a person is eligible to run for president, and I don't play an attorney on television nor in real life, but I do know one who's a very high-profile attorney and who is fortunate enough to be one of President Trump's key attorneys. He's my friend and running for Attorney General of the state of Missouri, my home state. So we're going to talk with Will about all of this. I had a chat with him, and we're going to go to him right now. Will, welcome once again to the Right Side, my friend.
Always great to be with you, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, Will, I called you earlier in the week because there's a lot of chatter. If I'm anything, I'm a guy who wants to live and work and respond to the truth and within the realm of reality. There's a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of speculation on the internet and social media, and I'm always one to try to call that out. And I don't want to delve into nonsense. So I begin to see chatter about Kamala Harris and the Constitution juxtaposed against her ability to be a candidate for president. Apparently, you've got to be a difference between naturally born citizen and a regular old citizen of the United States. Naturally born meaning, I assume, and I'm gonna turn this over to you and explain it. But naturally born, as I understand it, is two parents, American citizens, give birth to a child. That child is a naturally born citizen. If a child is born to parents who are not American citizens, that's a whole different story. She might be a citizen because she's born here, but naturally born is the hang up that a lot of people are coming to and commenting upon on social media. Can you give some clarification? And even if it's true, do we stand any chance of that sticking in a court?
Sure. So, and I'll just say at the outset, I'm speaking in my personal capacity only here. From a constitutional law standpoint, you're keying in on the key issue here, the difference between a natural born citizen and a citizen. So the constitutional standard is that somebody who is born in America to parents who are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America obtains citizenship by birthright. And it's that latter qualification, that they're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, that's the important aspect here. So the question is, let's say somebody is born to two parents who are foreign diplomats who are living here. Would they be a natural born citizen? And I think an original understanding of the Constitution would say no. Taking things a step further from that, if somebody is born here to illegal immigrant parents, I believe, again, that an original understanding of the Constitution would say that an illegal immigrant who's here is within the meaning of that phrase, not fully subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and therefore their children shouldn't have birthright citizenship. Now, the courts in the last half century or so have deviated somewhat from that original understanding. And they've basically adopted the view in most cases that if you're born in the United States, with rare exceptions, that you do have that birthright citizenship. But I would emphasize again that that wasn't the system that was in place, that wasn't our framers' understanding, and that wasn't the mainstream legal view until quite recently when you look at the broad scope of American constitutional history. With respect to Kamala Harris specifically, her parents were not lawful permanent residents of the United States. They weren't green card holders at the time of her birth. And therefore, I believe that under an original understanding of the Constitution, she would not be eligible to run for president. Now, would the courts hold that way today? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the chances of the Supreme Court kicking a major presidential candidate off the ballot based on a constitutional argument like that, it's quite slim. But based on an original understanding of the Constitution, I think the issues with Kamala Harris's eligibility are real. And I think that it's good that people are studying these issues.
I agree with you. I'm glad that people are waking up to these things. So, all right, having heard that, Will, now let's juxtapose this against the open border crisis that we're facing in this country, something and a topic that you speak about quite often on your campaign trail in the state of Missouri as you're running for Attorney General of that state. And certainly encourage people throughout the country, no matter where you live, to look up Will Scharf and support him. He is a template for what a state attorney general should be. That's my opinion. And Will, I've been out on the road and I've supported you openly about all of that. Now, the border, illegals, by the millions of them coming over here, having children. This is a huge deal because if I'm understanding you, and I've thought about this for the last 3 or 4 years, these children are now citizens and they grow up and they become part of our society. And it's a problem, Will. And I'm just wondering, is that on anybody's radar in the Trump administration, to your knowledge? Is it on your radar with regards to your run for Attorney General in the state of Missouri?
Yeah, I think the team around President Trump is keenly aware of this issue. When you have maybe 11 million illegal immigrants crossing into this country in the last couple of years, as you said, you have an issue where a lot of courts would hold that their children are American citizens by birthright. And that creates another complicating factor around President Trump's plan to deport illegals, that if their children are citizens, you could end up with a situation under family reunification visas of parents being entitled to potentially being given lawful permanent residency, green cards, and a path to citizenship based on their children's citizenship. So we talk a lot about chain migration, about a single person coming into the country and then sponsoring their family members, bringing their family members, and how that's distorted the entire legal immigration picture. On the illegal immigrant side, you have a huge problem here as well. And that's reflected actually in Obama-era policies like DACA and DAPA, where you have the parents of children who arrived here suddenly being given a path to normalization or legalization. That's all very worrying. And it's especially worrying because the numbers we're seeing cross the border illegally now are an order of magnitude larger than we've ever seen before. I mean, again, 11 million illegal entries since the start of the Biden administration. If those people are allowed to remain for a few more years, if they all have children, I mean, we're talking about a fundamental reshaping of the American citizenry, of who is and who isn't a citizen, who is and who isn't lawfully here. And that's just a huge problem when you look at all of the chaos that this wave of illegal immigration has caused in cities across America.
Well, I've said it from the beginning in 2020 when Biden was given the keys to the Oval Office, that this immigration debacle, it's purposeful chaos. This is not accidental. And one of the key reasons that they're doing this is because they want these people to become part of their new electoral base. We're even seeing movement from the radical left to try to put legislation forward to give illegals rights to vote. It's crazy, Will.
And we see from the Biden administration efforts that they're taking to provide social services to illegal immigrants, to provide driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. All of that contributes to the corruption of our voter rolls. If illegal immigrants are being allowed to apply for normal sort of citizen driver's licenses, and they're being given an opportunity to register to vote without citizenship verification taking place at that time, you end up with a situation where millions of people who aren't eligible to vote may end up on voter rolls. And particularly with left-wing states and some Republican states that don't regularly scrutinize their voter rolls, purge their voter rolls of invalid voters, you could have a situation here where millions and millions of ballots being cast are being cast by unlawful voters. And once those ballots are intermixed with lawful ballots, it's almost impossible to unwind that situation. That's why election integrity is so important. That's why voter roll maintenance is so important. And if we don't get these issues right, it's a fundamental threat to our constitutional republic. We conduct elections and to the
Will Scharf, candidate for Attorney General from the state of Missouri, also one of President Trump's key attorneys on his legal defense team. Will, one more thing before we let you go, and I know your time is valuable. What about the latest suit that the Trump team has filed against the Biden-Harris campaign about the election funds being grabbed by the Harris campaign? Now, what insight can you give us about that?
Yeah, so I'm not an attorney on that suit. I only know what I've read publicly. I think they're raising very, very serious issues of federal election law, whether these transfers were viable or whether they were valid, whether the Democrat Party can just substitute out a candidate and shift all the money with them. I think there are very serious federal election law issues there. I think President Trump's team has a good chance of winning on that issue. The other big one that's out there, and this is starting to percolate, particularly on social media, is the fact that you have this massive wave, tens of millions of dollars coming in through Act Blue after Kamala Harris was named the nominee. And a lot of those donations appear to be fraudulent. Act Blue doesn't really do identity verification. There have been allegations in the past of foreign money essentially being laundered through Act Blue into Democrat campaigns. That's an issue that I'm watching very closely. We need to investigate Act Blue the same way we need to investigate all of these big left-wing organizations, Tides Foundation, the Soros network of organizations. The left cheats constantly. It's part of the DNA of the modern left. They cheat almost compulsively, and we need to hold them accountable for that cheating. I think the campaign finance issues with the Harris campaign, they're only just starting. We're going to see much more dirt in the next couple months. And I hope that Republican office holders are willing to hold the line there, because, again, what we're dealing with is a fundamental corruption at the heart of our system of elections.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Scharf, absolutely one of the best people out there talking about these kinds of things, running for the Attorney General position in my home state of Missouri. VoteScharf.com. Is that right, Will? Do I have that right? VoteScharf.com.
That's correct, Doug.
Yeah, I just ask everybody to prayerfully consider heading over there, offering Will certainly your prayerful support, but also financial support as well. If you're in the state of Missouri, ladies and gentlemen, Will is your man. He is the template for what we need in Missouri. Fully endorse him and just wish him best. Primary August 6th. It's right around the corner, Will. I'll give you the last 30 or 40 seconds.
Yeah, look, Doug, it's 11 days to go. I've had a ton of fun with you and other great conservatives on the campaign trail for a year and a half now. We see conservatives waking up in Missouri in a way that they never have before. I think that we're going to see a wave of new conservative voters, energized conservative voters at the ballot box in our primaries in August and hopefully next November as well. I think just around the country in general, people have woken up to the dangers that left-wing politics, left-wing policies, the dangers that those really are imposing on our country. And if we don't get a handle on all of this soon, I fear that we won't have another opportunity, that our republic is truly in danger of slipping away. That's what motivated me to run. I know that's what motivates you each and every day. And I'm just excited to get through this, hopefully to win and to try to restore some normalcy to this state and this country.
Thank you, Will. God bless you, and safe travels as you continue to travel through the state up into and through and beyond August 6th. God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Doug. You as well. Have a good one.
And there it was, the interview I had with Trump attorney Will Scharf earlier in the day. Ladies and gentlemen, I went long on a few segments, so I've got to hurry up and say goodbye to you. Listen, have a great weekend. Think about the show. Think about sharing this show, this program, and especially heading over to DougBillings.us. and setting up that monthly recurring donation to support the show so that I can continue to bring it to you. Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next week. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
This is single cell plant microalgae phytoplankton, actually. And it is the most comprehensive nutritional profile. All you do is here's a tiny, tiny scoop. I mean, it's so little.